In this lecture, we would be dealing with regulation of conditions of work and occupational health, contract labor and migrant labor. Uh, During this presentation, we would be trying to understand the critical legal framework safeguarding working conditions and occupational health for contract and migrant laborers. We will examine the evolution of these rights, key legislations, and specific protections afforded to these vulnerable population, aiming to foster a deeper understanding of their fundamental entitlements. Occupational health is a fundamental human right, inherent right to safety. The right to occupational health and safe working environment is increasingly recognized as intrinsic aspect of human dignity. It extends beyond the mere prevention of injury, encompassing the holistic well-being of workers in their professional lives. International recognition, international conventions, and national jurisprudence also affirm that every worker has a right to conditions that do not prejudice their health, safety, and well being. This includes protection from physical, mental, and social hazards arising from work. Judicial interpretation, courts in various jurisdictions have progressively interpreted the right to life and personal liberty to encompass the right to health and safe working environment, elevating, elevating it to the status of fundamental right for all individuals. This evolving legal landscape underscores a global commitment to ensure that economic activity does not come at the cost of human health, recognizing that healthy workers are essential for productive and just society. Regulatory landscape, Factories and Shop Act. Factories Act 1948 is a landmark legislation focusing on health, safety, and welfare of workers in factories. It mandates provisions for cleanliness, ventilation, temperature, dust, fume control, artificial humidification, lighting, drinking water. Furthermore, it details requirements for fencing of machinery, safety devices, and employment of young persons. The Act also specifies working hours, holidays, leave with wages, alongside provisions for canteens, shelters, crèches. Compliance is rigorously enforced through inspections, penalties for violations, aiming to prevent industrial accidents and occupational diseases. Shop and Establishment Act. These state-specific laws govern non-factory commercial establishment such as shops, offices, hotels, theater. They regulate aspects like working hours, opening and closing times, holidays, leaves, and employment of women and children. While less stringent than Factories Act on occupational health as specifics, they provide crucial baseline protections for a vast segment of workforce. Their primary objective is to ensure standardized and human working conditions in diverse commercial environments, protecting employees from exploitation and promoting a healthy work-life balance. Regulation of contract labor, uh, that is regulated by the Contract Labor Regulation and Abolition Act 1970. Preventing exploitation, this act aims to regulate the employment of contract labor in certain establishments and to provide for its abolition in specific circumstances. It seeks to prevent exploitation of contract workers and to ensure that they receive fair wages and decent working conditions. Licensing and registration, it mandates registration of establishment, employing contract labor and licensing of contractors. This ensures accountability and allows authorities to monitor the conditions of employment and welfare of contract workers. Welfare and amenities, the Act makes it obligatory for contractors to provide welfare facilities such as canteens, restrooms, first aid. If contractor fails, principal employer is responsible for providing these amenities and recovering the cost from the contractor. This legislation is vital for ensuring that contract laborers often engaged in precarious employment are afforded similar protections and benefits as permanent employees, mitigating the risk of exploitation and promoting equity in the workplace. Now, coming to the vulnerable workforce, right of interstate migrant workmen. That is a very crucial aspect of and a challenge for labor legislation. Regular regulation of employment, interstate migrant workmen regulation of employment and conditions of service act 1979 was enacted to protect workers who migrate from one state to another for employment, often facing unique vulnerabilities. You must be knowing people are coming from Bihar, Bengal, Orissa, and working at different places, and they are facing a lot of kind of harassment, humiliation, and exploitation. Fair wages and allowance. This Act ensures that migrant workers receive wages not less than the minimum wages prescribed, along with displacement allowance, journey allowance, payment of wages for period of journey. This helps compensate for hardships of relocation. Registration and licensing, similar to contract labor, the Act mandates the registration of establishment employing interstate migrant workers and licensing of contractors. This regulatory oversight aims to prevent illegal recruitment and exploitation. Welfare provisions contracts are obligated to provide suitable residential accommodation, medical facilities, and other necessary amenities. The principal employer who bears his responsibility if contractor defaults, ensuring a safety net for these workers. The Act addresses the specific challenges faced by migrant laborers who are often exploited due to their lack of local social networks, and limited awareness of their rights, ensuring a baseline of human treatment and fair compensation. Definitely, these legislations, when it comes to enforcement, face challenges and compliance. So loopholes and evasions are very much possible with every legislation despite robust legal frameworks. Challenges persist due to ambiguities in definitions, leading to exploitation of loopholes, evasion of responsibilities by employers and contractors. Lack of awareness, many contract and migrant workers are unaware of their legal rights, making them vulnerable and exposed to exploitation, less likely to report violations or seek redressal. Inadequate enforcement machinery, that is the challenge with almost every law. Limited human resources, insufficient training, and corruption within enforcement agencies often hinder effective implementation and monitoring of labor laws. Informal sector dominance, a significant portion of contract and migrant workers operates in informal sector, unorganized sector, which often falls outside the purview of formal regulations, making enforcement difficult. These challenges highlight the need for continuous advocacy, capacity building for enforcement agencies, and widespread awareness. Campaigns to ensure that legal protections translate into tangible benefits for workers. Emerging trends and future directions, digitization of records, implementation of digital platforms for registration and monitoring of contract and migrant labor can enhance transparency and streamline compliance, reducing manual errors and fraud, strengthening corporate accountability, increasing emphasis on holding principal employer more directly accountable for working conditions of contract, and migrant laborers in their supply chains, promoting ethical sourcing and responsible business practices. Skill development and rehabilitation programs focused on skill development for migrant workers, rehabilitation for those who have faced exploitation can empower them economically and socially, offering better opportunities, promoting social security, expanding social security benefits, including health insurance and pension scheme to contract and migrant laborers can provide a crucial safety net and reduce their vulnerability. The future of labor protection for these vulnerable groups lies in leveraging technology, strengthening legal enforcement, and fostering a collaborative environment among government, industry, and civil society organization. So, key takeaways from this lecture today and call to action: fundamental rights, occupational health, safe working conditions are fundamental rights, transgending mere statutory obligation. Secondly, vulnerable workers, contract and migrant laborers require special and robust legal protection due to their inherent vulnerabilities. Holistic approach, effective regulation demands a comprehensive approach addressing legal enforcement and social challenges. For legal professionals and labor right advocates, the imperative is clear: continue to advocate for stronger legislation, ensure rigorous enforcement, and empower workers through education and access to justice. Our collective efforts are essential to uphold the dignity and rights of every worker and laborer. With this, I would end here. Happy learning.